Verse 4. Now observe how great this man was to whom Abraham the patriarch gave a tenth of the choicest spoils. Melchizedek is better than Abraham the patriarch. Just pick up a couple of things here. Tithing was already established before Moses. A tenth, by definition, is a tithe. Now, this is an interesting thing because it gives us a perspective on what a tithe actually is. It is paying tribute to someone who is above you, who has authority over you, who is bigger than you, who's, in this case, certainly better than you. It is paying tribute. Now, in our culture, we have gone to great lengths, I think rightly so, to make it very simple that no one is any better than anyone else. That is a fundamental thing. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created what? Equal. And somebody in Washington doesn't seem to know that part, but you do. And so we are all created equal. And we are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. Now, so that levels everything. We got rid of nobility. We got rid of aristocracy with that line right there. Boom. There are those who are trying to retrieve that to themselves, and I'm getting off the politics. I'm going to leave that alone. But there are those who have authority over us. That still has to be the case. So we're not to worship Melchizedek, but in his role, in his appearance, Abraham recognized that he had an authority above Abraham himself. Verse 5, and those indeed of the sons of Levi who receive the priest's office have commandment in the law, Moses' law, to collect a tenth from the people, that is from their brethren, although these are descended from Abraham. So he's setting up kind of like a genealogy sort of thing, a line of authority here. You know, the organizational chart you see in a business, you know, there's that thing they used to do with Willow Creek. They had this guy that was this horrible pastor. They did these skits with this guy. His name was Pastor Howitzer. Yeah, that's how he was. And he had an organizational chart, and he showed everybody. It's a great skit. And he lifts the paper. Here's the organizational chart. It says, me, everyone else. That's the organization of their church. Maybe that's a little dangerous. I should have left that out. Anyway, Melchizedek, because he is a priest of, or a king of righteousness, and he is a king, a priest also of peace. He is all of that at once. Abraham recognizes, even though it doesn't seem that he was involved in combat with these in this particular battle, he's above that. He's aloof from that. He's separate from that. Abraham comes back from winning that war, and he's giving tribute to this guy. We don't like that idea of hierarchy. I remember hearing Boris Johnson, Prime Minister of England at the time. He was talking about he wanted to increase American imports of British goods, and he was talking about the many things that he wanted to increase because they have British beef and they have British wool, and he wanted us to be able to. He noticed that we don't have any British tape measures coming in, and he thought that was very strange. And so he seemed to think that Americans had some kind of aversion to any kind of British ruler, and so he didn't want to have anything coming in on that. Thought you might. So what we have here is Abraham had a son, eventually a descendant, right? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Jacob had effectively 12 sons. One of them was Levi, right? We know later in the books of Moses, Levi is set aside as the priestly tribe. They're the ones that received the offerings of the people and ran the temple or the tabernacle at the time. And so one family related to Moses, Aaron, Moses' brother, was the family line now within Levi that was the high priesthood, right? Nobody else need apply. That was the only family line that would be allowed to be a priest. The high priest. So Levi would have to be in submission to his father. There's the line of authority. Do you see it? Okay. Was that too shocking? Okay, got really quiet. Verse 5, and those indeed of the sons of Levi who received the priest's office have commandment in the law to collect a tenth from the people, all these descendants, everybody else, that is from their brethren, although these are descendants from Abraham. Verse 6, but the one, Melchizedek, whose genealogy is not traced from them, that would be Levi, collected a tenth from Abraham and blessed the one who had the promises. You following this so far? So, I'm going to, spoiler alert here, if the descendants of Abraham are in submission to their father, Abraham, and that man is in submission to somebody else, then the grandsons of Abraham, Levi, would be in submission to Melchizedek, right? The same guy. That's the complicated part here. So he's talking about who has authority. Verse 6, but the one, Melchizedek, whose genealogy is not traced from Levi, collected a tenth from Abraham and blessed the one who had the promises. Now, one would think that the guy with the promises directly from God would outrank anybody else on earth, wouldn't you? One would think. But Melchizedek outranked him because he's a picture of the Savior. And Abraham did not save himself. Abraham believed God and was counted him as righteousness. Verse 7, but without any dispute, the lesser is blessed by the greater. I hope you have that concept. In this case, Levi, mortal men receive tithes. But in that case, the Abraham and Melchizedek episode, one receives them of whom it is witnessed that he lives on. And so to speak, through Abraham, even Levi, who received tithes, paid tithes. You following this? Levi received tithes from the people, but because he was still in, the way Jack Hibbs puts it, because he was still in Abraham's DNA, and that DNA was in submission to Melchizedek, then that captures Levi into that train of authority. And so although he receives tithes from the people, Levi has paid tithes to Melchizedek and is in submission to him. So that priesthood is a lesser priesthood. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, kings bless knights. Fathers bless sons. Teachers bless a student. Melchizedek blessed Abraham. Jesus blesses you. We will be made like him. Melchizedek received a tenth from Abraham, signifying Abraham recognizes Melchizedek outranks him. Even a picture of Christ outranks Abraham.